Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much again for joining me here. Hope you're having a great day. Happy Wednesday to you. Bitcoin has swiftly recovered. Take a look at this here. It broke through this descending trend line, continued to progress higher up to its moderate resistance there with the local all-time high and that 0.618 fib level. And then CPI data came out. Price shot straight through it as if it never even existed. So this is awesome stuff in a lot of ways. Back up to our six figures for Bitcoin, but we kind of got to redraw out our game plan, huh? Right? What are we planning to do next? That's kind of the question. So we're going to double check a few key factors, see if it's worth taking along, or if maybe a short here soon might be appropriate. We're going to want to pay attention to volume, of course. Volume has increased and the price goes up. It's no surprise. It's kind of how it's supposed to work. So we're just going to make sure to kind of keep tabs on that. And if you are new to the channel, I just ask you hit the like button, comment below. Thanks to those who always do that every single time they watch the video. Really deeply appreciate you just being an awesome part of my life. Let's take a quick look here at the last 7 days liquidation for Bitcoin. And just kind of recognize that there's a lot to the upside. A lot of short holders here, all the way up to 110,000. Okay, so it seems sensible the price is going to continue a little bit higher here before it pulls back, just based on liquidation alone. But we don't take trades just on that one thing, right? However, we're seeing a lot of green candles. We're seeing a lot of volume flowing in here, at least for the last couple of hours. And that's generally a very favorable sign, especially breaking through a key level, resistance essentially of that rough estimate of 100,000. So I would say at this point, I'm just thinking out loud here. Hypothetically, a closure above 100,000 would be a very positive sign for Bitcoin. We take a look here though. We can see 105 to 110 once more, as per usual. Heavy concentration liquidation. I haven't counted this up yet, but each one of these bars is about 8 to 10 billion. So that's quite a lot, right? Anyways, that is present. We can see here the delta has shifted, of course, from bearish to bullish quite quickly there. We bottomed out at 94.5 mark as a rough estimate. Once again, 94.7 is that support level that we discussed previously. Nice little pivot point there at that point. We can recognize again with delta being above the price action, or more importantly, just more longs than shorts in the market. There's more sustainability, more likelihood of the price going up from here. So just careful shorting into what you feel is an overextension. We know what that does for us in a lot of cases. Granted, I've been wanting to take a short in the $99,000 to $100,000 range for Bitcoin for the last 20, 40, 48 hours, but with the conditions here changing, it may not be appropriate to do that. And I'll explain why, just so you can kind of understand, from a technical standpoint, how that dynamic has shifted. Again, 100,000 open interest, that's the most amount of interest people have in Bitcoin right now. Once again, we're above that level. Hypothetically, the price goes higher from here. That's just kind of what it looks like here. Let's take a quick look, of course, over at the charts, work our way down. And on the daily time frame, it's going to look a little wonky here because we're getting these really jagged indicators here, or more important, jagged candles. The key takeaway here is that you got to recognize in these situations, I mean, we look back 4 or 5 years ago when the last bull run occurred, the Bitcoin was doing this here, the same thing as well, just these really significant uptrends and downtrends, and just like terrible wicks, honestly. I mean, you look at this candle wick here, this one day, went from 90 to 104,000, like a 14% correction from top to bottom. That is insane. Like that, no amount of liquidation can sustain that, right? So again, this is just complete manipulation. It's kind of par for the course. So just get over that if you're troubled by it, and just recognize that we're still on the right side of tracks here. Yesterday, technically, we did close below the 20-day SMA. As mentioning, that would be unfavorable. And as per usual, market makers shift the dynamic. As soon as everybody thinks that we're going bearish and the price goes down, they inject a ton of money in. Keep in mind, our money flow today is pretty low. In other words, our volume overall isn't super high. So this may or may not be sustainable. Again, we want to pay attention to that. But once more, it's still too early to tell. The daily candlestick hasn't closed yet. Take a look here, though. RSI, doing nice. Money flow index starting to work sideways, which is good. Stochastic is swinging down, of course, from that pretty significant last 48-hour correction. But the MACD is starting to plateau as well. And we're seeing some shifts here. In other words, being above the 20 to me is super important. We're over that local point of control at 98,000. So I would say the tentative bottom for now is 98,000 now that we're back up above it, okay? And I know you're probably like wondering, what the heck? Just yesterday you were telling us the price is going to continue lower. That's exactly right. You have to presume the price is going to continue in the direction it's heading while it's in that trend. Now that that trend has been broken, we got to presume this new trend will establish itself and continue higher. Right? Not to say there won't be still pullbacks or aggressive candle wicks here. There's still tons of liquidation, or liquidity rather, down as low as 90K. And so I'm still thinking that's a possibility for us. But at this exact moment right now, it's not looking like that. Okay, we did just establish a fair value gap as low as 98.5, so hypothetically the price pulls back, could see a pivot and bounce off that. That runs concurrent with the moving averages and the previous high here too. So I'll draw this out on our playout chart so you can kind of see that a little more clearly. But generally speaking, when you have a previous high, we could see what 3 or 4 candle wicks before the price broke out. That's going to establish a new support. So there's definitely a good amount of confluence here, that 98 to 98.5 range. So the price does end up pulling back. It would seem sensible for it to come and pivot off that level. So that may be a good secondary entry consideration for long, at least for the moment right now. Having said that, fair value gap again is being established right now. We can see here as well that stochastic swinging up pretty hard, money flow index starting to increase, RSI is back up over 50. These are all very, very positive signs. MACD is converged as well, roughly 12 hours ago. And on the hourly, I'm pretty confident we're going to be above the cloud here, which we are. And the lagging span's free and clear with the conversion line, of course, well above the baseline. So these are all positive signs to consider a long and not to take a short. But once more, again, this is a bit of an overextension, folks. There's no other way around it. We're hitting our tentative top. So hypothetically, a long at this exact moment might be late to the race. But down at the 99.5, 98,000 range would be perhaps a good consideration for long if the price were to pull back there. You may want to consider some skin in the game here soon. It feels weird to take a long at 100,000 and 500, but you know, to each their own. The market is in a different place right now. Either way you look at it, again, it's not really appropriate to consider shorting, I think, at this exact moment. Well, we said the same thing yesterday for the inverse. No, not ideal to take a long until we get confirmation. Well, that confirmation came when I was sound asleep last night, right? So you can't catch them all. That's the simple way to understand it. But at this point here, I do feel like an entry at 98 to 99.5 would be a solid consideration. Again, that previous high of 99.7 is a rough estimate. That is this red line here. That's essentially a common pivot point there. Plus is that 0.65, 0.618 fib level. So if we get a retest, that would be a sensible place to consider getting in. So that's kind of where we're at there for Bitcoin. A big dynamic shift, wouldn't you say? Absolutely crazy how this market is. You can't make this up, folks. This is this is nonsense 101, right? So anyways, hope that makes sense. Once again, I'll post a playout chart on our Twitter, Telegram, and Discord if you're not familiar. It does look a little something like this, where I do provide insight on what I think is going to happen next with the coins. While I'm not always right, we got a pretty good success rate for our community. And while we also haven't had a ton of trades here locally, so if you've been, you're watching, you're part of the community, you just joined, like, what the heck's wrong with this guy? Why doesn't he send any signals? The truth is, when market does what it did here recently, hits that all reset button, it's best practice to always wait at least a day or two. And at this point here, we can see a clear shift in momentum. So we want to either get on board with this or wait for it to shift. It's dynamic once more, because Bitcoin is a very manic trading coin. If it had a personality, it would be a joker. That's for sure. Anyways, thanks again so much for watching. Hope you learned something again. CryptoCash.tech if you want to become a better trader. I look forward to seeing the next one. Have yourself a great rest of your day. Take care.